Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, and today I have a very special guest here, being our fourth episode of the year of Breaking into Cyber. I have a great mentor who's taught me so much and helped me grow, Mr. Adam Peña, and I'm going to give him a quick little brief, and then we're going to go ahead and get started into this. So, Adam Peña is a seasoned cybersecurity leader with over 2 decades of experience in threat intelligence, security operations, and cyber defense. Currently serving as the Director of Security Operations at Maricopa County Community Colleges in Arizona, Adam oversees critical security initiatives, ensures the protection of institutional networks and sensitive data across a diverse educational environment. Before joining Maricopa, Adam played a pivotal role as the Arizona cybersecurity landscape, serving as the SOC manager for Arizona Office of Homeland Security. During his tenure, he led cyber threat intelligence operations, incident response efforts, and proactive threat hunting strategies to protect state infrastructures from emerging cyber threats. Adam's extensive experience also includes roles as a cybersecurity engineer for the state of Arizona, where he focused on threats and vulnerability management, and as the cybersecurity manager at the Arizona Department of Economic Security, where he strengthened the state's security posture through ethical hacking and cyber defense strategies. With a cyber career spanning in IT management, security operations, and threat hunting, Adam brings a unique blend of technical expertise, strategic vision, and leadership to the cybersecurity community. An engaging speaker with strong presentation skills, he is known for his ability to translate complex security concepts into actionable insights, often with a touch of humor and memes to keep his audience engaged. Adam is passionate about cyber threat intelligence, ethical hacking, and education's next generation of cybersecurity professionals. Whether mentoring teams, speaking at industry conferences, or leading cutting-edge security initiatives, Adam remains the forefront of defending organizations against ever-evolving cyber threats. Adam, it is a mouthful. It's 2 decades of experience. I hope I did it justice, but we're so excited to have you on the channel.
Hey, thank you for having me on here. It's always weird to hear that output from what I've done my whole career, because it's like, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, and I think time flies, right? So sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, has it been 20 years? And it's like, oh yeah, it's been that long. And it's been a journey, right? It's been ups and downs, and the cyber. I think I've seen cyber growth from almost before it wasn't even called cyber. We were infosec security, right? We weren't cyber. Cyber's like the new word now. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so funny because it's just like I've talked to many people on my channel too, where I get to do the research and find about their background and their history, and it's such like they it's always new to them. Like, man, like I've done all that, and it's just so crazy, and it's also amazing just to show that, like you said, progression of growth that you've kind of got to. So obviously, Adam and myself kind of go back to my time back in the state of Arizona Department of Homeland Security engagement, where lucky enough I was able to impress Adam enough with my chatty Cathy-ness of skills, of my charisma as a +5, of getting to talk through the interview we had, and kind of getting to show my passion of wanting to do exactly what my series is all about, and that's ideally just breaking into cyber. So Adam, my first question for you, which is probably a huge one, a lot of people probably pivot to my channel too and kind of go off running off this series, is so previously, and obviously as a director now, being a SOC manager and kind of being a part of that hiring process for analysts, engineers, now at the director level, possibly even leads, SOC managers now, are there some important things that you look for when coming into an interview, whether that's looking over a resume, looking over technical skills, GitHub repositories? What are some things that you look for when folks are trying to kind of break in, or you're maybe looking for that entry role?
Gotcha. Yeah. So with me, so I've been managing teams, since 2005, right? So I've been hiring people, since my late 20s, and it's always been like, what do we look for, right? What do we want? And I think one of my biggest things is I think the soft skills, they sometimes get overlooked, but to me, those are some of the best skills because I think the soft skills, you communicate, you talk, and it's easier to teach those people things. So I always look for the soft skills, and then, like you said, the passion and the drive, where the guy's spending, he's working his 8-hour day, and then he carves out 4 hours each night so he can go to try hack me, or he's going to hack the box on his own. No one's paying him to do that. He's on his own pocket, own money doing that. I can't train that desire, right? I can't train that. So I look for that kind of stuff. If I see them, they're like, hey, and in my hobby time, I do this. So to me, they're ongoing, always enhancing, and always trying to get better, because of the threat landscape today. Our adversary is always evolving, And if we don't keep up with those guys, we're going to keep losing because they keep evolving and we're not evolving. So I think what's one of the biggest things is the soft skills and the passion where they love and enjoy this, because what happens in this job can be stressful. But if they love to do their work, it doesn't become stressful. Today, they love doing the job.
Yeah, and exactly that. And I've talked to just recently, probably in the last, I'd say 2-3 months, I've started to kind of open up via through my LinkedIn and just also my network for mentoring and getting to talk to junior folks or even college kids. I know for CactusCon, I sat through majority of my time actually there at CactusCon in Career Village, just doing resume reviews and mock interviews and getting to talk to people. They asked me the same thing, like, hey, like, what is it that really kind of helps you get into the field? I'm like, one, it's you have to have a passion for it. Just like you said, working in a SOC and in that environment, even as tier 1 to tier 3, depending on your position, like you can get burnout very easily. A ton of other projects and stuff can hit your workflow. Critical incidents happen that drop of a dime, you might get that random call at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Like, hey, we need you to come in. You're our SME that needs to help fix this. And a lot of things I tell people too is exactly that self-motivation and kind of like carving the time at the end of your day, where when I was working to get out of law enforcement to get into cyber, I started working on my master's degree in cybersecurity to fill in my gap. And I was able to leverage the military but fill in that gap of information I was missing, obviously having a different degree set, as well as like working on certifications. Cause I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do some self-investing and I'm going to knock out my Sec Plus, which is your baseline certification. I'd probably say now it's starting to move up to almost CYSA. It is the next, I think, soon to be level baseline getting into the field. But when I came back in 2021, like I think Security Plus could still kind of get you in the door when it came to baseline certifications. I think things are starting to elevate with obviously how environments are changing, threats are changing. AI hacking is huge right now. ChatGPT, evil ChatGPT, web application testing, a lot of different things you have to have as a entry-level analyst. There's now a large plethora of master of many that you kind of have to kind of get into the door for. But yeah, self-investing I think is huge. And if you can't enjoy that every day, and then even when you come home, unwind a little bit, go hit the gym, hang out with the family, but just 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, maybe jump on it, try Hack Me, do a room, get a streak going, find a new hobby or something you're trying to get into. I think it's huge to kind of keep your skills up and relevant.
Yeah, but no, I agree with that. I think I've seen guys like, hey, just do, like you said, 30 minutes to an hour a day, do it for a month. And it's crazy how your skill set will just go up. And like, for example, say someone going for something crazy like OSCP, right? And if you have no experience doing any of that, that's going to be pretty crazy out the box.
Yeah.
But you'll be amazed of you jumping online and just trying a few. I think to me also, you've got to get, especially on something like that, you need to get those. You have to do some of those cheat sheets that tell me, how do I get through this?
Yeah.
But you'll notice if you bang away at that for a month, and if you check your skill set, I guarantee you in that 30 days, you're like, no, I know how to run an Nmap scan without looking at something. I know what to look for. And you learn, I enumerated, I found some things, I tried some. You start to see, you develop that method. I have the method, I have the process, and now you have it. And then now you can almost just grab a random machine. And the main thing was you develop that process.
Yep.
And now I got it. So I think if you, again, it's that spending that time, and you'll be amazed. 30 minutes, even an hour a day, you'll grow.
Yeah, I talk to people I mentor and I'm like, hey, like, so what do you guys feel like your weekend? Oh, I feel like my fundamentals, like I feel like I struggle on some of the basic questions. And the first question I'll ask them is like, hey, well, how much spare time on your free time are you kind of taking to do self-development, do that self-learning? And trust me, after an 8-10 hour day, sometimes the last thing I want to do is come back home and sit in front of my computer for another hour. I want to go play games or go to the gym or just watch a show with the wife and hang out with the kids. Like I don't want to sit down for another 25 minutes to even an hour and do more studying. But exactly like you said, that little bit of studying, even if it's 2-3 times a week, like you do a self-assessment, like you said, in the beginning of that 30 days and then the end, and you'll 100% level up. Yeah. So, well, Adam, that actually leads into another question I have for you. So obviously cybersecurity is a very unique niche, I think, when it comes to career sets. And not everyone obviously goes into that when they first grow up. Obviously, when I grew up, I wanted to be a police officer. I've now pivoted into cybersecurity and going into the defense side of things. But obviously you have a passion for it and you've been doing it for so long. What was the specific moment maybe that you realized that this was the field you wanted to dedicate yourself to?
Yeah. So for me, again, with me, me being around even before cyber. So when I first got into IT, the security guys were boring. Like these guys, they reset passwords. They were on the mainframe doing stuff, and I looked over like that's boring. I don't want to do that. Like so, I stayed with desktop support, and from there I did some server support because I want to learn the desktop. And I felt I mastered the desktop area, right? Then I want to go servers and infrastructure. I want to get in that, and then started kind of mastering that. I think what it was is it was around 2015, 2016. And so there's been some attacks, right? Ransomware was hanging, but not as much. It's funny, even like 2013, 2014, there were some ransomware attacks, but they're very little. The bad guys haven't automated anything yet. They weren't that good yet. And to me, I think it's about 2015, 2016, I was in a job where they changed some leadership on our side, and they're going in a different direction I didn't want to go. And I remember telling even my wife, like, hey, I'm kind of bored. Yeah. I'm bored. I'm an IT manager. I'm not doing anything crazy. I said, this security thing looks kind of cool. I don't know nothing. I don't know anything about the cyber stuff, all these other tools I've never heard of, but I want to dive in. So I went ahead and funny, I got a couple of interviews because of my background, right? I had, at the time I'm having 16, 17 years of that. And it's so funny that I was bombing interviews. Like like they would ask me questions and I was like, Nessus, bone scans. I'm like, oh, and I didn't know. There was one guy who was really cool with me on the phone interview. I asked him, hey, do you mind, telling me, like, what am I missing? What is it that's not getting me to the next step of the interview? What can I work on? And he's like, well, he says, you got a good background, good technical background, so you probably can do it. But there's, you don't have any experience with the tools, like the actual tools itself. You don't have the experience of it. I said, oh, okay. So I kind of went to other job placements on the web, and I wanted to see what jobs were they asking for, even for the security analyst. What are they asking for? So I downloaded like a free version of Nessus. What does it do? How does it work? What's doing? And from there, spending late, I gave up video games for a little bit, right? Video games at night, I gave that up. I started playing with these tools, the security tools, how they work, what to do, why do they do them? And then I think the biggest thing to me, not only understand the tools, why do I do the tool? Because me being in IT, we did patching all the time, for example, right? Patching all the time. I just do patch. But I didn't understand what's driving patching, like what's doing that. And I discovered, well, no, if I'm running a vulnerability scan against a network, the server team thinks they're patching well, but they're not, because you know why? The scanner's picking up third-party vulnerabilities that they aren't even paying attention. Some of them didn't even know Wireshark was on some of their machines that was vulnerable to critical RCEs. And it's like, and a little light bulb blew in my head, like, oh, that's why we scan to tell them what to patch. Mm-hmm. So to me, understanding that concept by studying that. So then once I had my next interview, I knocked it out the park, because then now I knew what an IDS was. I knew what IPS was. I knew the real job of a firewall. And I think that's what got me to the next step, where I still didn't know a whole lot, but I could now nail the interview. I got that down.
It's so funny because I've had a few friends that and I've been given the same advice, because it's like, I need to get more. I'm not doing well in interviews. They're like, oh, dude, like and same thing. I was playing games like on my downtime. I'm like, you know what? A new game dropped. My guy's like, dude, we're all in this new game. I'm like, hey man, I'm studying for something real quick. Give me 30 days. I'm doing I'm kicking off games for 30 days. I need to jump into the studying real quick. So it's just funny, because like I did the same thing ideally when like having to get to new roles. I'm like, I need to learn something. But there's so many distractions, right? And for those that work from home, or for those that like come home and like jumping on your home tower desktop to play games and jump online with the boys and hop on Discord, like do yourself a favor, even for a week, disable it for a week, just shut it down, text the guys in the group chat, hey, I'm taking a week off. I need to focus on this. And I think just like you said, like just picking up something and filling that time with something else to benefit yourself is huge to understand. And that's a lot of things too, where a lot of folks getting into this field, that's always the negative they hear out of their interviews is like, oh yeah, they're saying I'm missing the experience. And that's where, just like you did, Adam, like trying to find free tools online or free training online that you can go to fill in that lack or gap. Like Splunk has a ton of free training. Elastic has a bunch of free training. Yeah. I think Google Chronicle, now that's even coming around, has a bunch of free training off the Google sites for training. Sort of AWS. You can just go to those sites, look for all those fundamental trainings that you can pull from. I know Troy Hackney has tons of different rooms I've talked about. And I think even done a few videos on for what's a SIM, how to work inside Splunk, how to work investigations, IR response. And that way, when they go into these interviews, like, hey, have you ever messed with Splunk or worked with a SIM before? Hey, you know what? Yep, I've done it in school, and I have actually also done these rooms and some of the free training through Splunk. And I think for folks trying to get in for those entry level roles, explaining that to a manager and hearing the manager, I would think hearing that, okay, well, they've never done it like on the job, but they've taken the own time out of their own wallet or own time in their week or day to go out and research the tool. They can talk on the tool. They know how basic queries work. And having that one little notch up above someone else that hasn't done that is going to put you, what I always tell people, you want to be the best candidate for the role. And that's how you make yourself the best candidate for the role.
Yep. Yeah. And that's it. I think, like I said, with me, a guy with 15 years, background, I wasn't making the cut, not even for security analyst role. And it was blowing my mind. But then, like I said, I found out now that I know what I was missing. And it's funny because there's things that you did already in your job that are cyber related. You just didn't understand. And I'll put one here. Like, for example, if you're investigating an incident, you have an incident come off. Well, okay, so a machine was beaconing to malware. So your job as an analyst to find out, one, where is it going? Why is it going there, right? And then how did it get there? If it's malware on a machine, how did it get there? And that's kind of, to me, that's actually a root cause analysis. So the report, that's what you're trying to figure out how it started. Yep. Same thing. If I have a server go down, if I have a computer break, you should be doing a root cause analysis on why did the server or services stop, what happened, what broke it, and then how do I prevent it? I can take that same knowledge of me investigating, troubleshooting a problem. That's exactly what I'm doing incident response, except I'm trying to find the breadcrumbs the bad guy left to tell me what happened so I can, one, get the environment cleaned up, and two, defend what happened there.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. So even for some of the last few interviews I've done and talking through when I went through CactusCon and they had like a large question of like pre-questions we could ask people, there were some technical questions, but the funny thing is a lot of the questions they had were just getting that like root cause analysis of like, hey, you have a problem, go off like the STAR method or whatever method you want to do when it comes to interviewing. But like, hey, let's say just like a generic one, like, hey, you see a phishing alert come in or there's a phishing report come in, walk us through your process or your mindset of how you would go and investigate it. And the point of the question when people ask you that is exactly that. They're wanting to see, hey, how are they going to find the root cause analysis? And do they break it down 5 W's? What's their methodology of like, okay, well, they're going to create a case. They're going to assign the case to themselves. How granular do they get? Hey, you know what? I'm only going to look at that one email. Oh, it's not malicious. The user, it looks like spam. Okay, well, did we look to see if anyone else got that email? Is it just this one? Is it targeted to a specific group? Was it just sent to the CEOs? Like, how deep can you go into that investigation just so they can kind of think your mindset? Okay, is this person, as soon as they find out it's not malicious, it's just spam, are they just going to close the case, file it away like, yep, not malicious, it's all good? But maybe it was just like a click spam bait kind of thing that even still, we don't want that on the environment. And hey, did you go that next step? Like, hey, you know what? It got sent to this individual within the HR team. Has anyone else gotten this email? Do they broaden that investigation? Do they go down a short rabbit hole? We obviously don't want to go down big rabbit holes, but you go down that short rabbit hole to do that further kind of reach out across your environment. Hey, have we seen this before? Is this a recurring email? Why haven't we blocked this? Is it necessarily, can we just put this into a spam and then block this from coming into us all the time? Or that extra little step, I think, goes, and even the breakdown when it comes to talking through that part of the interview, one, shows your skills and technical abilities and your analytical mindset of, I call it standardized and systematic, back from my law enforcement days doing DUI investigations. But it's like, hey, there's always a slight deviation when it comes to cyber investigations because things can always be different. But just like you said, when it comes to like jumping on a box and like, hey, have you like a little check? Hey, I'm going to enumerate. I'm going to do my wgets. I'm going to do curl commands. I'm going to pull to see what I can find from this machine. If you still have a somewhat checklist you're going to go down and kind of like go into pivoting for, it's going to go a long way in kind of showing that kind of process that you're thinking of to, I think, get you further along into an interview with a manager.
Yep. And, so you'll be amazed, like today, even I bet you even today that there are some places that don't go that far. Like if they see malware, they'll just re-image the machine and call it a day. They're not even. And so when I applied for the one place that I made it to the interview and I made it to the second interview, that place they were in another agency I worked for before. And we had a malware incident on a machine. I remember giving that security team my desktop and saying, hey, can you guys tell me what happened? They had the desktop like for a week. And finally I called the guy, like the top security guy, like, hey, so what happened? What's on it? Oh, we don't know how it got there. So just wipe it, call it a day. And I was like, what? So me getting on that team, I started teaching myself what's, because there was no one there to teach me how to properly investigate. So I started learning how to, okay, this machine has malware. How do I do, where do I look? What logs do I look? So so there I started learning that process on investigating where I'm finding it, how I'm finding it, and can I prevent it from happening? Where I can just tell the story.
Yeah.
This is how the machine got infected. This is where it was going, and this is what my adversary was trying to do. And once I did that, that again, I can see my next level. I went up the next level. Now I'm next level because I'm going deeper than no one ever saw. And even those guys who were on the team before were like, where'd you find this kid from? Because this dude is just blowing things up. Like they had never gone that far in the investigation. They were just used to this. It's being blocked. Who cares? We're good.
It's going in Shepson style. All right, guys, we're in the next stream. Let's go.
Yeah. So I think, and I see that today, even at my current place. When I got there, I'm assessing the team, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw this happening, and it's being blocked. We should be okay." And so I've been kind of bringing that education, like, no, we want to properly investigate this. And if you guys don't know that, great. I can now show you guys. We'll get some training on incident response, because and again, I think, like you said in the interview, if you can mention you're looking for the root cause analysis of the problem, but then the one I never hear. Are you providing any IOCs from what you found?
Yeah.
Where's that cyber threat intelligence? So that way I can give somebody else that actionable intelligence on, hey, this web link is credential harvesting. Watch out, it's coming from the sender. Because that information to another place is amazing to them. Because, yeah, they might have got my environment, but now I can tell you, and now you can be proactive of what I found.
Yeah, and I know I've talked about that on a few other channels. And I think I may have talked on it with Bearded IT Dad. They asked like if there's been any kind of cool things I've done. Like I mentioned back at the state how I helped kind of stand up the MIST platform that we had like cross the states and other organizations we work with, and following the traffic light protocol. So your red, amber, green of what you can share, what you can't share within organizations and such. To include, I think with the FBI that we also worked with, exactly that. By hey, if all because they get me doesn't mean like I'm gonna keep these to myself. No, share the information, share the threat intelligence, because maybe there's another organization that they're possibly targeting, or probably maybe they're already inside the environment but haven't enacted anything yet. But then you share those IOCs, like, oh shoot, they touched our environment last week. We need to go hunt this down and quickly rectify this. You may have just saved the company millions of dollars, and it's just like it's super important, like you said, like and that's huge across a lot of environments. I think you've probably seen it plenty of times in your career, Adam, and I've seen it a few places in mine where you'll jump onto a team and there might be one or two people on there that kind of like, they like to keep the information. They don't like to really share. And it's just like, there's a lot of negatives with that. And I understand the concept, like, well, if I share this too much, I won't be a need for my team, because everyone can do my job. Like they want that job security, and they think they might be doing something as a good thing for them, but in a sense they're really hurting the team. Because if I learned something, even back at my last job at Wells Fargo, if I learned something new, I would share it with my entire team. Like, hey guys, I found this. This is, I think, super important for the team to know. Here's how I did it. This is how I'm going to document it. I'll put it into like either a share drive or like our documentation, or I'll write up like a playbook or an SOP. And then I share that. And that way, if someone else sees that again, rather than having to come talk to me, maybe I'm off that day or I take a sick day, like, oh man, Andy walked us through this process of how to do this, but I can't remember. They can go to that note, or they can go to that share drive, or they can go to however you share your notes or training to have them like, oh, good thing he shared this, because now we can rectify this. So yeah, I think that's huge. Just like you mentioned, for sharing like IOCs and IOAs, because having that stuff in your environment is horrible. But if you can prevent it from going to someone else, it's one, they'll say thank you, and then two, they also share usually. If you're providing one thing, they can provide the other as well if they're starting to see IOCs as well. So that's a huge part when it comes to, I think, IR response and hunting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also what I see too is the missing craft of having someone able to write the incident response report, right? And usually, like when we're at Homeland, I had to do two versions. I had to do one version I'd give to my internal team that had everything on it, but then I had to create a generic version. It wouldn't list out exactly what agency may have got compromised or any of that, but it has good information on what happened, what we found, and then some ways to defend for it. So I think And I noticed that the incident response reporting, that doesn't happen. And I always feel the same way with pen testing. Pen testing, when you actually do an exploit and you got in, that's like you're showing off highlight. The real money maker with pen testing is that pen test report.
Yeah.
Where you can showcase what you found and how do I remediate against this. To me, that pen tester is going to make a lot of money. Is the one, not only he can do the technical stuff. No, it was that report that gave that information that we wanted to help fix our environment.
No, 100%. And that's actually great, because it kind of pans into a great another question I want to ask. When you think of your cyber career, which is obviously a 2-decade spanning time, what stands out as maybe your most defining moment or experience? And then if you can maybe also share if you've ever kind of felt that imposter syndrome, or that moment in time where you're like, you know what, I belong here. I'm totally good. I'm rocking this role. What kind of comes to mind when those questions kind of get asked?
Yeah. So with me, again, being around even before cyber happened, I always like to use the meme with Bane. And when Bane talks to Batman about darkness, but I say, so I tell all the youngsters now when they see me, like, you merely adopted cybersecurity. I was molded by it, because I'm a different animal, because I was in the beginning before all this madness happened, and I've seen it. Even some of the tactics the adversaries are using today to spread ransomware, I'm like, I was using this back in 2005 to deploy software to my environment. That's what I did. And now the bad guys, you're using that same tool, like, the system tools, same thing. I think for me, the pivot one was not only getting into cyber was a big one, but I was taking a class on a new EDR tool we had purchased. And this is before EDR was there. We're moving away from next gen antivirus, moving away from the McAfee's. It was the new EDR. So I'm in a training with a class in this class, and the professor's like, okay, after lunch, we're going to go ahead, we're going to create a malicious PDF, and then we're going to see how the tool detects it. And I was like, we're going to create a malicious PDF? What do you mean? Sure enough, we get in, they give us a VM, and I fire up Kali Linux. I've never seen Kali Linux. So in my career in the agency that I worked at that time, we had an architect who just hated Linux. So he did not allow anybody to have Linux at all. So I was always trained on Windows. If I had to play with Linux, I had to be on my own time. Mm-hmm. So when this guy shows us Kali Linux, I'm like, what is this Kali Linux? And I talked to I saw he did this with some commands. We created a PDF. We did the thing. So I talked to the teacher afterwards. I said, hey, what is this Linux? What is this Kali Linux? He's like, yeah, it's a pen testing distro. I'm like, pen testing? What's that? And that was it. I was like a kid in the candy store. Kali Linux, pen testing, and so this is before Hack the Box. This is before Try Hack Me. I found VulnHub.
Yep.
And so you can download vulnerable ISOs of Linux and Windows, and you can try to hack them. I'm like, what? That's a thing? So that night shelved the PlayStations and the Xbox, and I remember my wife first couple of weeks in me doing that. And I was up 2-3 in the morning banging my way at a machine, and my wife waking up and going, "Are you still playing video games?" And I'm like, no, I'm trying to hack in the machine. I said, I got into the machine. I just can't figure out how to become root. And she's like, what? What is that? Like, she used to me playing video games, and then to hear me trying to hack, I think that was that moment where, again, spinning right now. When I was playing games like Destiny, and I'm doing raids for 6 to 8 hours at night with a group of 6 guys, and we can't get past this one stupid mechanic. Now I'm banging away at this Linux server, and I'm trying to figure out how to get root. I'm doing that same thing. And to me, that was the moment I took off, because I took off with that and like a duck to water. Then I found IPSec on YouTube, right? And watching his videos, and then Hack the Box showed up, and then I just took off. That was that. I didn't look back, and that was, and also it gave me my Linux experience. I started playing with Linux and people, hey, do you know Linux? I'm like, I guess I do. I just hack it. That's the imposter syndrome. Like people were like, I don't know Linux, but then I'm like, well, wait, I'm hacking Linux all the time, and wait, I do know Linux. Wait, I do know Linux. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think I'm obviously very much a Windows, not a Mac fan. And even like when it comes to like Microsoft and like Google, it's like I prefer Microsoft. And I remember going to the state my first day and like, oh, we're a Google shop. I'm like, I got to learn how to do Google Docs and stuff. I'm like, ooh. And I picked it up quick. And it's just like, but it's the same thing, right? Like if you've never done something before, of course you're not going to be good at it the first few
Yep.
times, right? Like same thing, like when I created my first VM and got my Kali kind of set up here at my house, the same thing. Like I now get to mess with Kali on the last few environments I've been across. So now I'm somewhat familiar with it. Would I say I'm a SME in it where I can go in there and elevate and pivot and create my reverse tunnels? I can dabble. But I mean, like I have my little cheat sheet, and I make sure I have a cool little mouse pad that I got on Amazon that has all my Linux commands and shortcuts. And I mean, but the thing is, like I know how to find the information. And for a lot of folks that when I talk to, like, oh, should I be good at Python? Should I be good at Linux? Should I be good at doing Windows investigations and Linux? I'm like, yeah, you should be. You should be good at all of it. Is the short answer. But at the end of the day, I mean, like the way to get better at it is just exactly that. Like spin it up, just bash your head against the wall for a good 3-4 hours, and boom, you too can become an analyst. So,
yeah. And I think with me looking at the offensive side, it made me a better investigator because I was learning the tactics. I was learning the TTPs of my adversary. And then now when I went to a CVE that was a remote control RCE, right? Now I could go to the POC, see that script, and go, oh, look what they're doing. And because of my tactics of me hacking the machines, I would see the threat actors doing the same thing that I was doing on Phone Hub. And so I think what happens, it seemed like I was faster than everybody else investigating it. And it wasn't I was faster. I just knew where to look because I started thinking like my adversary now.
I'll say this, Adam, and I can say this with high confidence because I've worked with you. When it comes to working an investigation with Adam, when you're on step one trying to follow along, he's like, "Hey guys, we'll do this together." You'll be at step one for the first minute, and then like a minute goes by. Adam's like, "All right, guys, you guys find it yet?" I'm like, "Where are you?" "Well, I'm in the root folder. Then I pivoted to this. I jumped to the other machine, but then I did this." I'm like, "Adam, you're like 25 steps ahead of us, man." Because I'll tell you, Adam, you are very skilled at your craft, and it's just from the experience and the repetitions you've had. But the way you get there is by practice. And
Yep.
But Adam is fantastic at the casework he does, and it just cracks us up because I remember myself and Austin, we try to sit there like, how did Adam do that? I'm like, I don't know, man, but if we ask him, maybe he'll show us tomorrow. So, or we'd have you come in and like, hey, can you walk us through how you found that file or what you ended up doing? And then you'd come in and like, well, this is what I may not have done. And we're like, oh, okay, Adam, sweet, we appreciate that. We can pick up what you're throwing down. But it's so cool, and it's just like, I know for a lot of folks, when it comes to finding those mentors and those managers that are kind of willing to kind of come in, sit you down, left seat, right seat with you, and kind of walk through the commands, walk through the process, walk through that training to better yourself as an analyst, it goes light years, and it builds such strong fundamentals for progression. And Adam obviously groomed me so well within the field for a great, unfortunately short 9 months at the state, but I was unfortunately headhunted out of, and I felt so bad, Adam. And I tell this story when people ask me, like, how long do you work at the state? I'm like, well, I worked there for 9 months, and I felt so bad because when I told Adam I was leaving, it was at our Christmas party. He just gave me my Christmas card saying, hey, man, love you, have you on the team. So excited for the next few years. $25 Amazon card. I looked at Adam, I'm like, you might want this back for what I'm about to ask, man. I feel really bad. But how I knew I had the best manager ever is I talked to Adam about it because I was so brand new to the field. I just got into cybersecurity. I left law enforcement. I got on with the state. I was there 6 months and they ended up promoting me to engineer. I don't know what they saw in me, but I was doing a great job. They moved me up to engineer and I was rocking it. I was doing my work. I was asking the right questions. I was staying on topic. We hired on some great other folks during that same time frame. We were getting them onboarded. We were pushing out stuff. It was great. But I was still so new to the field that when I kind of got headhunted by Wells Fargo, I didn't really know what to do. Because, I mean, I've only been with the state for 9 months. And I remember talking to Adam, and I'm like, hey, man, like, it made me feel bad because we had such a solid team. Our manager were great. The team was solid. We all just linked and synced well together. We could knock out investigations, and our SOC at the state at that time was just on a pedestal when it came to some other teams just because how well we operated, how we got things done. Adam was getting additional products like, hey guys, we have to help pick up a little slack. We're to knock out these other products as well. But it's because we're doing so well. We're doing such a good job. And Adam gave me the best advice ever. And it's like, you know what, man, like I appreciate you. And I think what it shows me is as a SOC manager, if you, after only having you for 9 months for all this training and stuff I was able to put you through, that just shows me that I'm doing a good job as a manager to make my analysts become more successful and move on to bigger and better things. And that was huge, Adam. And because like I said, being in the field for only 9 months, And like, dude, should I pivot to this next job where I've only been at the state for 9 months, and hey, it's the right price, it's good for your family, it's the next move you need to do, and you were so supportive about it, which I really appreciated. But I think that's the type of management too when it comes to when you're working in those environments. You need to find a good team and a good manager, because good managers aren't going to hold you back and prevent you from being successful. They should, just like Adam did for me, train you and make you a better analyst or engineer or whatever position you sit in, whether you grow within that team or you grow outside of the organization. So first off, huge thank you, Adam. I know that's midway here and we're not even I'd say we're halfway done, but I do really appreciate that. And yeah, the amount of knowledge that you shared and I kind of got to grow from at the state with you was enormous and amazing. So.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I think with that is one of those things where one, I can't be doing this job forever, right? Adam's not going to be around forever. So I need to share this knowledge. And if I can create a couple of what I call cybersecurity monsters and get them out there, I feel like I'm doing something good for the rest of the community, right? Because now Wells Fargo's got a good, solid guy, a couple other guys that went to other places. And I think to see them all blossom as they left my area, and now they're doing good things for that area. So now I'm seeing, if I see 6 guys left, now there's 6 different organizations that are doing the good work now. They're doing the good work and they're following what I did, and I'm hoping they grow and maybe one day they become better than me because of what I gave them. And to me, my management style was a little bit more freedom. I wasn't a micromanager, but you guys understood what I wanted. And to me, I guess I kind of led by example, right?
Yeah.
You guys saw what I was doing, what I was trying to do. You also understood I could do what you guys do. So I was like, hey, I want you to be an analyst. This is what Adam, the analyst, would do. And I always like to say that, or this is what Adam, the pen tester, would do. So that way I wanted you guys to start thinking like me, because once you kind of figure out the method and the process, you can kind of just run with it. And I think to me, showing that this is how you, again, like it's how we build great teams, and of us sharing information like, hey, I figured this out. Awesome. Let us know what's going on, what's happening. And I think that's kind of how we build teams. I think all of our personalities all kind of match. So I think leadership starts to bring in guys and ladies that our personalities match, so we can grow.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. I mean, because sometimes we get some bad apples. Sometimes I always think it like the New York Yankees, right? New York Yankees are always hiring the best prima donna baseball players, but then they never can win the World Series, right? But then, and I go back to 2001 when they lost to the Diamondbacks, and Diamondbacks had a bunch of nobodies against the Jeters, all these great iconic baseball players. And I think when you have a team that has too many prima donnas, they're gonna start fighting. They're not gonna start sharing information, and it becomes more toxic. Versus if we have a bunch of regular people, we're just regular people, but we talk to each other, we communicate. We don't know everything, but we're going to learn and go.
Yeah.
That team is going to team that's going to outshine all the other teams.
Yeah, that's huge. So I think it goes on to another great question to kind of lead from this. Like, what are the misconceptions about cybersecurity that you think you had to clear up for those that just starting out? So like, obviously when I jumped in, like I was very much thrown into the fire in a good way, but it's just like I had no experience. Those getting into their first job, some get to go to organizations that have great onboarding processes. Some go right into, hey, you're going to do 2 weeks of onboarding, and then you're hitting casework. What's some stuff that you'd like to clear up when it comes to some folks starting out in this career?
Yeah, so I think with this one here, with cyber, I know there was a big boom, right? I would say 3-4 years ago, and I think that's kind of dying down now, right? So there was a lot of hiring because we're, and we're still short on staff, but I was seeing us hire a bunch of people who maybe had fancy certs and maybe fancy degrees, but then you threw them in a simple problem like analysts, just investigating something simple. They didn't understand the fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
And I think to me, and something as simple as, hey, can you get a packet capture from a firewall, and can you decipher that capture and find out what happened? And you'll be amazed at how many analysts probably can't do that today, right? And I think something simple like that. Who is it? There's a company out there that does these really like SOC fundamental courses that I think would teach you stuff like this. That if you were to be head to head with the guy with the fancy certs and the guy that you just learned these SOC fundamentals, again, you're gonna grow and take off because you're able to use some of the basic tools on looking at things. Like I think that's kind of what.
TMC Security or with Heath
No, it's
Adams?
no Black Hills Security
Okay.
has a I think it's called anti-siphon training. If you go to that site, and their classes are like $500 maybe, and they now, and I think that's the other challenge, right? Hey, I can't afford to take some of these courses because the cert's $500, the cert's $700, the class is $5,000. How does some guy who's in college with a job and two kids, how do I afford these trainings? That site there, if you actually email them a letter, they'll let you take the class for free because they're just trying to build a community.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And yeah, so to me, that was the biggest thing for me. Now some of the training, it won't be instructor led, but they'll give you the VMs and then the worksheets to work through it. But again, you get to touch some of the tools that they use for incident response. And to me, that's where you're going to pick up, like I said, those basic skills where, hey, I may not have used the fancy EDR, but I've worked with an EDR. I know what it does and how it works. And again, that's going to shine, especially, and I think not so much on the interview, not so much on the resume. The resume, you mentioned what you know EDR, but when they ask you questions about what have you done with an EDR, you can actually say, this is what I've done with the EDR. But to me, getting that real world stuff, those courses there, those are, you can find places like that are giving out training, and it's not costing you, a whole bunch of your wallet just to do it.
I'm going to do another quick shout out because there's another place like that called Anti-Siphon Training. That's, I think, ran by Jason. Oh, no, it's not Jason. I can't remember who it's ran by.
John Strand. So
yes,
John Strand.
That's the man. Yep.
And he's been to CactusCon a couple times too.
Yep. I know they've done a bunch of classes where it's like pay what you can.
Yes.
And I think just recently did one of their trainings a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago. And yeah, the training's fantastic. And you're in a VM, you're actually working with a tool. And it's fantastic. If you can attend it and pay some money to attend it, it's awesome. If you can't, there's even, I think, a $0 you can attend for free. And they just ask those that can try to push in for it, because that way you're helping out that next person that wants to try to take it. But yeah, stuff like that. Try Hack Me, YouTube. There's tons of different stuff you can get into when it comes to just getting into those tools and learning them as well. So awesome. Well, I have one more question for you, and then I'll wrap it up with a fun one. So what's one thing that you wish more people knew about the impact they can make when working a cybersecurity career?
Let's see here. Trying to think here. That's a good question. I think on that, maybe just you're gonna go into a small community. Like, if you see any cyber community, we all know each other. Like like here, the one we have in Arizona, we all know each other. So you're gonna be diving into this family. So network and get to know your friends out there, because I think this is how I see us. People don't think that what we're up against. What's my adversary? And to me, we're not against some kid in their mom's basement, right? Not the guy with the hoodie on. We're going against corporations that have a bunch of IT staff just like us, except they're doing nefarious purposes. So to me, we need more collaboration. And so to me, coming in, think about that when you come in, is be collaborative, get with the community, find out who's the who in community, and get the communication talking. Because there's a site I go to see ransomware happening across the world, and I still see at least 80 to 90% of ransomware events, they don't tell nobody about them. They either just pay the ransom and move on. Like, they still pay that. And that to me is sad, because that means these guys are, one, they have a stigma. They don't want to tell nobody that they're having a problem. They don't want help. And I think I want you to come in here like, we're here to help you. Like, we want to help. Don't be ashamed of something happening. So, I mean, be open with us, because I want this community to help. We're not going to let you guys drown. So I think like that and positive, that we're all to help, and we're kind of all of a one big family.
No, and that's a great way to end it too. And I think, just like you said, like we've back at the state, there was tons of organizations that we'd chat with and hear about, like, oh, looks like they might be having a ransomware incident. Hey, do you want some help? We'd have initial conversations, and then all of a sudden, cybersecurity insurance would kick in. Silence. And we're like, well, okay, they may just pay it, but it's not our choice. Yeah. So it's just like, Exactly that. Like there's nothing, asking for help is nothing ashamed to be ashamed of. And especially in this career as well. And especially just like you said, networking. I talk to a lot of folks when it comes to just like going out to organizations, DC 480, Cactus Con, attending DEF CON if you've never been. It's in Vegas every August. But tickets are gotten a little expensive this year. They shot up like $100. Ugh. But having and going to those conferences like SplunkCon, FalCon, and just meeting people, talking to people, going to any of the free workshops, and getting to network and talk to people, it's so funny that the people you talk to then like, oh, what do you do? And like they're dressed like in a hoodie or a shirt and gym shorts, like, oh, I'm a CEO of company XYZ. I'm like, oh shit, I've been talking to you for like 30 minutes and we're really driving. Like we switched numbers and LinkedIn's, and I'm like, I'm keeping you on retainer because that's a good person to have. And if you build those rapports and you do those workshops with people, you meet some fantastic, amazing people across the industry where if you have a question, and I've been very blessed to get to do it through the networking and through the military. I have folks that specialize in SCADA, API hacking, web interface, phishing kits, how to do exploitations. I mean, it's fantastic the amount of people you can talk to and meet, and then like oh, I'm a super SME when it comes to like doing Windows investigations, or oh, I can do Linux with my eyes closed. I'm like, cool, man. I'm gonna have a ton of questions for you in like 30 days when I have to do maybe X report or some type of thing, as long as I can talk about it. But no, that's awesome, Adam. And with that, everyone, Adam Peña, he's amazing. I'm so glad I got to get him onto the channel and talk and let him kind of share his experiences with you guys. Adam, is a huge thank you. You get to get some free Ginger Hacker swag, cool, which is your choice off my site. I'll make sure I send it to you. There's whiskey glasses, mouse pads, shirts, hoodies. As a huge thank you for coming on the channel. Last but not least, any final words of encouragement for those trying to apply to get into the cybersecurity career and trying to break into cyber?
Yeah. So this is, I always see this one as a big one. And I always do it towards a baseball analogy. If you're on a baseball team and if all you know is how to pitch, you probably won't play a lot, right? But learn different positions, learn to play second base, first base, third base, learn to play the outfield. That way the coach will use you more because you know what? No, I'm flexible. I can pitch, I can catch, I can throw, you name it. Same thing in IT. And if you're not in, cybersecurity, learn all the things that people don't want to do. It'd be amazing for me. Like, for example, for me, doing the presentations, I didn't want to do presentations. It's because nobody on my team wanted to do them. But my CISO wanted presentations with IOCs and information. So I was like, well, screw it. I'll do the job that nobody wants to do. So I started doing them. Well, then I found out, crap, I'm pretty good at this. And then I started making some of the memes. So I would throw jokes. And it was funny how the community was already in meme territory. Then I brought the memes into the incident response world. And it was like, and then after that, I never knew anybody liked my presentations until my CISO goes, hey, do you know there's a Slack channel of a bunch of people that only attend that one briefing because you're on it? And I'm like,
yep.
What?
Yeah.
I said, what are you talking about? I said, get out of here. And they're like, no, you're famous, man. And I had no clue anybody cared about because no one would ask me questions. So I'm like, I guess my presentation sucked because no one said nothing to me. But yet there was this whole community out there talking about my presentations. So that was pretty cool. So do the jobs that nobody wants to do because you'll be surprised how much you're going to learn and how valuable it'll become. And learn. That's why you got to learn different disciplines. So that way, when something happens, I can use you because you know that.
Yep. No, awesome, Adam. And yeah, there's a reason why I said that bringing your humor and memes to keep audience engaged, man. Yeah, those memes are fantastic and fire. So, hey, everyone, thanks so much for sticking around. If you did this late, smash the like button, hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell for our next time. We're going to do our next series of Breaking into Cyber. We'll catch you guys on the next video.